Hi everyone, hope you all can hear me. Thank you so much for joining us after those fantastic videos. Simeon, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, I thought I'd start off thinking a little bit about an interview that I saw you did online with Move It. You talk about how your company, BirdGang, begin each project with a feeling and work through how those feelings can become external physicality. And so I thought it might be useful just to start off with, what was the feeling behind this project that motivated it, and how did it become what it is now?
Cool, yeah. I've been working on this project for about 12 years. It's taken like many shapes and forms, but a lot of it was based around, I have a big female presence in my family. My mum has like 7 sisters. I have 2 sisters, lots of like female energy. And I wanted to look at some of these subject matters that I've been around all of my life. That's part of me, even though I'm a male. And some of the stories that I've heard from close friends and family, I wanted to find a way I could try and capture that and look more into it. And I spent a lot of time, especially like around the early 2009s to 2011s, interviewing people. I'd take my camera, go up and down UK, and I'll interview people, speak to people from all different backgrounds, just to get some more insight into this type of project that I really wanted to do. Because before even the movement came, I really wanted to hear people's stories and find out from all these different people. And I love London for that reason, because it's so multicultural, especially Camberwell, where I grew up. It was there's all types of classes, all types of people, and I wanted to see if I could capture a snippet of that and present to the audience.
That's fantastic. It's really great to hear that because obviously this is about 6 women, right? And we deal with, there's so many different elements and perspectives that come through in those films. But it's interesting that it seems very strongly to be from perhaps a female perspective. Could you speak a little bit more to that, and whether you feel that is reflected in it?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. The R&D process, especially, even when we done the full-length version of the show at the Young Vic, like our first performance of the videos got done before the show. So the videos was an opportunity for us to explore themes, and then the show is when we really got down to the nitty-gritty. So me and the cast were I was constantly writing stuff, sending it to the cast and being like, okay, let's look back at this. Is there something I'm missing? Is there a thing that you feel like I haven't hit? And if there is, so speak openly. It was a very open platform and very open kind of a process to being. So I was like, we need to get it right. There's no way. And it was interesting because at the Young Vic, when the performance was finished, everyone thought my name was Simone. So they presumed, everyone's like, oh, this show's really amazing. Like, where's this director? Where's the writer? And I would walk out and they were like, what? It was like, you wrote this? Are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And it was like, so that was cool. That was really interesting.
That's fantastic. That's great. I think that the Young Vic production element of this, bearing in mind how strongly these films stand alone, what was the process like of having the films to begin with and then the production? It seems like a really interesting dynamic between those two things and the way they might speak to each other.
Yeah, for sure. So I love film, and I love theatre and I love film, and I wanted to find a way to merge them together. And I was in the process at the early stages of trying to work out if this was going to be just a theatre production. And I was speaking to some representatives from Netflix to like see if I could do some stuff there. And that kind of went cold, and I was like, I still had this element. And then the South Bank came to me. They were like, look, we want you to do some work. Can we put some cool stuff on? I was like, rather than putting cool stuff on, I actually got something I've been working on for a while. It used to be called One Show. It went on tour as this other show, and I've came back and I took the best bits from it, and I've made it into another thing. What do you think about doing this project? And they were like, sounds amazing. We don't have a lot of time and we don't have a lot of scope. And I was like, that's totally fine. I'm used to working quick because of the work I do in the commercial world. I was like, I'll grab some people, we'll make it work. I think we shot it in 2 days. We shot everything in 2 days. It was up and down literally the South Bank Centre building with camera. They obviously blocked off areas and like literally people taking pictures, watching. So that was great. And the energy and the support I had from that moment, especially from the cast and all the people involved, that was amazing. But because we had that, I had to remember that the show deals with it, like we go way deeper than what these films do. So I had to almost put that on the back burner, be like, that's great, but now we need to work out what the characters are going through and how we're going to present these characters and what their message is, more than just kind of skim over the theme. Sorry.
That's interesting. I think that the films themselves, what's really interesting is the way that they deal with subjectivity and about the presentation of the self, the inward presentation and feelings about the self, and the outward performative self as well. And I wondered how you think dance in particular is uniquely placed to discuss that subject of performative selves and the inward self.
Oh, I think that's a great question, by the way. I think dance is a great medium. I mean, when I was younger, or still even to the same, not even when I was younger, how people view dance, as they don't view it as a tool or a vice that can always give a deeper, meaningful message. Unless we talk about contemporary dance, then we go, yeah, but any other platform, we see dance as something young and youthful and happy. And it's not that I didn't want it to be happy. I just wanted it to do more than entertain. And I was like, that's what my challenge is. It's not going to be, I want to win my next award for choreography or anything to do with that. Or I want everyone to be like, oh my God, the choreography is so amazing. I was like, the message needs to be there. If it's just cool dancing, I don't care. That's not interesting to me. And I feel like the way we approach the dance and the way we approach the movement and the vocabulary that came from the cast as well as myself, was something that I really hold dear to me now, even though we started this project ages ago, just because we thought it was a great tool. That being said, the theatre show is almost like 50-50 between dance and dialogue. All the cast, they have these very big dialogue scenes and moments, but actually they still get asked to dance as well. So it was interesting to try and really, no, it wasn't planned to have half and half. We just kind of went with how it felt, and that's what it ended up being.
That's so interesting. It's really wonderful to hear. I think that it's really interesting to think about these kinds of the subject matter that you approach from a dance perspective, and in the kind of paraphernalia about these films, you talk about the fact that it's very multifaceted, and that, you know, in life you don't just deal with one issue one at a time. You actually deal with many things at the same time. It's actually kind of cacophonous in that way. And I think that's a really interesting approach for dance, and something that I personally haven't seen that much of, because I think sometimes it's perceived that could be quite complex. What do you feel are the challenges with having that kind of multifaceted approach to subject matter in dance?
I think, well, there's almost like two questions there. I feel like I've always called myself a /artist. Even when I got into dance, I got into dance very late in my life. At 18 is when I first started dancing, and I wanted to learn all different disciplines. I wasn't interested in the quote they always say, jack of all trades, master of none. I didn't believe in that. I wanted to have a core understanding of the essence that makes individual dance disciplines, and then go back and work out, for this show I want to do this type of style, or I want to merge these type of styles. Always came from a true place. And I feel like the subject matter was the same thing when I first started to approach the subject. A lot of feedback, I won't mention names, but a lot of the feedback I got was, no, why don't you call it Black Girl? It should be, I'm Black, so it should be Black Girl. And I was like, well, no, because it's just not about being Black, and it's just not actually about being a girl. There's so many different layers to what I'm trying to say. And it's greedy of me to try and put it all in one show and give all of it justice. And I feel like that's why there was a bit of me that's like, I want to do these films that, that touch on a bit of the themes in the show, but actually I want to attempt to do a show that's multi-layered within the content and also multi-layered within the dance, and something that's very mature. That I want everyone to see this as a mature show. Yes, young people can come to see it, but it was aimed at adults. It was aimed on reflection. It was aimed on starting a conversation. It wasn't about giving answers. I just really wanted people to start, and that's exactly what happened when we done it at the Young Vic. It was amazing. People didn't go home, they chilled at the bar, and everyone was just talking. And not just about the show, they're just talking about subject matters, and it was really nice.
That's fantastic. That's really great to hear. I think that what comes across is that it seems that, as you mentioned earlier, that part of this process has been collaboration. And I wondered whether you could speak a little bit more to that and what excites you about new collaborations.
I'm always collaborative in nature. Like the company I run with Quayle Roach and Kendra Horsburgh, there's 3 of us. And when we originally started, there was 4 of us. And everything that we do together. We might head a project separately. So that kind of collaborative nature has always been in me. I love getting, it's not just the feedback, I love getting the energy in the room. And that's why it's been weird time having these Zoom calls. And I'm like, I want the energy in the room. It's been a bit of a weird time, but I'm used to having the energy in the room. I'm used to collaborating with people, talk with people, hashing things out, hearing people's ideas that are totally, not so much, I won't say the word against, because it's not against if they don't agree with your idea. It's just a different way of looking at it. I always found that amazing and brilliant. And one of my girls here, Kayla, right there, if you can see her on the screen, she's been my dance captain. She's been one of my co-writers. She's been for like the last, I don't know, 12 or more years. You'd have to tell me how many years it's been. Practically every single project I've done, Kayla's always been a part of it some way or form. And she can tell you about the way, just the way we work. So I'm excited for the future to see what new people I can bring in and what new people I can hear their voices, because I'm always interested in listening. And I know I can talk a lot, but I'm actually more interested in listening than talking.
Amazing. That's great. And speaking of the future, what's next for BirdGang? What have you got going on?
Yeah, BirdGang's got like quite a few things happening. Some I'll stay hush about because they're not ready to come out yet. But we've got lots of things immediately, something that's not gone to press yet, but I reckon I can say is that we're going to be doing it's in collaboration with the BBC. We got asked to I'm directing and choreographing a film that Kayla works on me with, which is about the COVID experience. It's only a short film. It's like 5 minutes, including credits. But it's been really exciting because it's a new way of us working together. We had to do rehearsals on Zoom, which is just insane. And obviously I had to film the dancers one at a time and put them together. But it was a really interesting project to discover a lot about ourselves as like just human beings and more than just artists. And it was, I don't know, it felt really nice. But down the pipeline, we've got plenty of things coming up. And at the moment, I just can't wait to tell everyone and really share that with them. But the time will come and we'll post it all over the place, I'm sure.
That sounds really exciting. It's interesting to hear the way that you've been able to approach because obviously it's never too far from anyone's mind, the current situation that we're living in and the way that we need to work around, especially in the arts, how we collaborate. So it's great to hear that you have been continuing the momentum and being incredibly productive and continuing to collaborate. That's really exciting.
Well, I think the best times for artists, and this is, you find this if you look at history and you look at the ghettos and the rundown areas, the best kind of creative time comes from people when you haven't got anything. When you haven't got nothing, you have to find something, you have to make something from nothing. That's something I'm used to. So that normally comes from a collaborative kind of environment, kind of the people kind of sticking together. I feel like, especially now what's going on, everyone should be coming and uniting together, and the arts can help that. Everyone thinks, how can the arts help? And actually the arts can do more. You can look over history. The arts have done so much culturally for so many different countries and places. And I won't go too much into it, but it's something that is important to us as a company.
That's fantastic. I'm just going to ask a question now from Jodie. She says, do you think that your creative process during COVID-19 is going to influence the way that you work in the future?
Good question, Jodie. Definitely. There's a lot of things I think I took for granted. Like I love technologies and, editing. I'm a technophobe. I'm always like, no, I want to see people's faces and I want to, be in that room. But actually the Zoom thing, as much as I complain about it, there's something I've learned from it. Like I've done an edit of the film that we're working with BBC. And normally I would, I don't know, just send Kayla a quick text and be like, here's the video, let me know what you think. But actually I couldn't work out what the film was about. I couldn't work out the first section of the film. So we Zoomed it. We Zoom called and I put the edit up and we just sat there. We took like 2.5 hours to really go through them. And I was like, I don't do that. I've done it in the room when you go to a studio booth and people come down and everyone's over the editor. And I was like, well, I guess we don't. So there's little things, not major things, but little things that I guess I'll still hold with me. I don't think I want to do Zoom rehearsals though, Jodie. I don't. I don't think I want to do that. That hurt me. That was that was trying.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. I think it's interesting the way that we continue to move through these things and what we might take away. I don't think anybody is that up for Zoom calls too much in the future. I think everyone's zoomed out, really.
Yeah, I think so, very much so.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Simeon. I'm just going to check if there's any final call for any more questions that you might have for Simeon. Do let me know. Use the raise hand reaction, and I'll try and keep an eye on if you do have any questions. But it's been fantastic to speak to you, Simeon, and I'm really excited to hear that you're continuing to just put out all this huge plethora of work just by yourself. It's interesting because you're a director, right, as well as a choreographer. As you say, you're very much multifaceted in the things that you do. So it's fantastic to hear that those things are kind of join together quite a lot.
Definitely. And as I was saying all of this, I was like, what other projects are we doing that I can tell you about? So there's a project, I was just thinking to myself, like, there is stuff we're doing. There's lots of stuff we're doing. There's a project called Nox, which is a virtual reality / reality show that's directed by Kendra Horsburgh. It's literally, we done a scratch at the Young Vic, and we're still working on a show now, and that's literally you're in virtual reality watching the show, but then you also have dancers moving you around, so you're also part of the show. So it's a trying time that we're in right now, but the project is still on a go. We've still got back in, and we're still looking to produce that and see what we can do with that. We have another show called Bicycle that was done by Quayle Roach, and that would have been at Fairfields in a month or so time, but that's now not happening. So that's looking to come back. And again, that's about addiction and what we use as vices. So there's things are looking up.
Just also while we're on the subject, what excites you about virtual reality? Because I hadn't really thought to ask you about augmented reality or virtual reality, but it's obviously something that is very much present now and something that we need to consider more often.
I'm a gadget person, so that's like, I know, gadgets and news is cool. But then I think when Kendra came up with the concept of how she wants to, the approach and how she wants to do it, what excited me was it's something new. It wasn't just watching a dance show. I think the first thing we done when Kendra first done it, she done just a dance show, and you come and watch it, and it's 360, you can move around, and we was like, all right, cool, but who cares? If we're going to do something of more than the content, because it's virtual reality, I don't want to use it as a gimmick. Let's try and find a new way of working, and what possibilities could this open up to for working with people who can't normally go to see shows, for with people with of needs and need help, whether they're bodily or other. I was like, there's so many different ways that this could actually help, or we could give people a different type of experience. So why don't we look at that rather than, again, just having something cool to look at?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite odd that VR, in the way that you've described that project of dancers physically moving audience members around and things, actually you're closer to the work than ever, rather than there being a difference between what you're watching and what you're experiencing. Actually, in some ways, VR seems to bring people closer to the action in ways that I think we hadn't first realized. So that sounds really exciting. I think we just need the technology to catch up, for sure. The quality of lenses, obviously, we're only far behind because it's not cheap to run. So even at the time, I believe we were getting sponsored by Samsung, and they gave us a few headsets, but it isn't enough. We need the technology to catch up so we can make it accessible to everyone, so everyone can come and see it. And at the same time, expected everyone to have their own virtual reality headset. It's clunky. I can't imagine everyone putting their bags and carrying it around, be like, oh, there's a show going on. It's okay, I've got my own. All right, come on, man. Like, I can't imagine that happening just yet. But hopefully, we don't know. Technology is growing quick, so we'll see. That's fantastic. Simeon, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope that everybody enjoyed it. And I hope to see you all soon for the other events that Camberwell Arts are undertaking. Thank you all so much.
Cool, thank you.
And I'll see you all very soon. Thanks, Simeon.
Thanks, guys.
All right.